When I flew 2,400 miles to surprise my son on Christmas Eve, I heard him whisper through the window, "Pretend we're not home." I walked away quietly and took the $29 million with me. Soft snow falls, doorstep, suitcase, cookies, silence. I used to think the greatest humiliation a mother could face was being forgotten, but on Christmas Eve, I discovered there's something worse, being remembered only as a burden. I had flown all night across 3 states just to surprise my son. I wore my red coat, the one he always said made me look like a Christmas ornament. My suitcase held cookies for my grandkids, a knitted scarf, and a folder worth $29 million, a lifetime of brilliance hidden under motherhood. I rang the doorbell. Music, laughter, lights. Then, "Who is that?" "It's your mother." A pause, a sigh. "Pretend we're not home. I can't do this tonight." And in the reflection of the frosted window, I saw exactly who I had become to them. Not a mother, not a grandmother, not a human being, just an inconvenience on Christmas Eve. So I turned away, and that was the night I stopped being invisible. Snow danced around my boots as I stepped off his porch. No goodbye, no apology, just the click of a lock. I carried the cookies back to the taxi like they were evidence of a crime no one saw but me. When I reached the gate, a gust of wind blew open my suitcase, revealing the corner of the manila folder, the one that held my original flight control system calculations, my classified engineering documents, my patents that funded half the aerospace industry, and the transfer deeds to a $29 million investment fund. I knelt, zipped the suitcase, and whispered to myself, "Not today, not with them." I had arrived offering a legacy. I was leaving with a lesson. No one in that townhouse knew who I used to be, maybe because they never bothered to ask, but I remembered. White lab coats, punch cards, cold fluorescent lights, and me, the only woman on the project rating classified algorithms for fighter jets. I had written the algorithm, the one that stabilized flight during high G turns. It saved pilots, it changed aviation history, and it bore my signature until pregnancy erased it. Women don't need clearances, they told me. Think of your child. Think of the stress. Don't worry, dear. The boys will take it from here. They didn't take it. They stole it. And the world moved on without me. Motherhood swallowed my brilliance like a black hole. My son never saw the calculations taped to the inside of my sewing cabinet. He never asked why I solved his algebra homework faster than his teachers. He never questioned how I could adjust mortgage amortization schedules in my head. And I never told him. My husband's stroke, my mother-in-law's dementia, bills, caregiving, loneliness. I became the woman in the shadows, the silent fixer, the unpaid nurse, the on-call grandmother, the family's emotional landfill. And genius became a footnote. But one thing never left me, my precision. Numbers made sense when people didn't. Markets made sense when emotions didn't. That's how the $29 million happened. Quietly, privately, expertly, year by year, trade by trade, decision by decision. Silence can build empires, too. 3 days before Christmas, I called my son. I could hear him multitasking, barely listening. "Mom, things are chaotic. Maybe after New Year's." I said nothing, but I already knew I was going anyway. I baked his favorite cookies, ginger molasses, packed the red dress he used to compliment, and placed the manila folder gently on top of my clothes like a secret I still wanted to share. I wasn't bringing presents. I was bringing a legacy. Not anymore. Not after that night. In the moments before they closed the blinds, I saw her, my granddaughter. She pressed her small palms against the window. Her eyes lit up. She mouthed, "Grandma!" Then my son pulled her away. "Not now. We're busy. She'll go." The blinds dropped. The lights turned off, and I heard my daughter-in-law's voice. "She needs to learn boundaries." Me? Boundaries? I had no boundaries for 30 years. I had only sacrifice. But now I felt something rise in me, something I hadn't felt since the lab in 1962. Clarity. The hotel room was warm and quiet. I set the cookies on the desk, sat on the bed, turned on the lamp, and opened my old laptop. Trinity Archive. The files the world forgot. The formulas they erased. The proofs I kept. Every blueprint, every formula, every memo stamped confidential. My son's last patent, the one he bragged about so loudly in the press, used one of my early optimization models. He didn't even change the variables. That night, for the first time in years, something inside me shifted. I wasn't a burden. I was the original genius, and I wasn't done. Not yet. Helen Morris, the only woman from my program who stayed in the industry. A journalist now, a seeker of buried truth. I emailed her the files, all of them. Her response came within hours. "I remember everything about you. You were the best among us. Let's give you back your name." For the first time in decades, I slept deeply. The world would soon remember the woman behind the machines. And my son, he had just lost the greatest inheritance he never knew he had. New Year's Day. Headline: "The mother of modern flight control. How a forgotten engineer built the systems her son later claimed." My photo, my equations, my name. Every line told the truth, a truth so loud it shook the aerospace industry. My son tried to do damage control, press statement, lawyers, deflection, but the evidence was unshakable. He built his empire on my bones, and the world finally knew. When the world asked, how did she go unnoticed for 60 years? I asked myself, what legacy do I want now? Certainly not one filtered through a son who locked me out on Christmas. So I took the folder, opened my new will, and rewrote everything. Every penny would now fund the Hart Foundation, a STEM scholarship program for older women restarting their lives. My genius would go to women like me, not to a man who saw me as invisible. MIT, NASA, Smithsonian, Scientific Integrity Board, blogs, podcasts, headlines. For the first time, the world said my name correctly. She calculated in silence and changed history. The girl I was at 22 finally stood tall, and the woman I became at 78 finally exhaled. Months later, a blocked number, I answered, his voice bruised, hollow, cracked. "Mom, I'm sorry." Not the public apology, not the dramatic crying, just a broken truth. I destroyed everything I had. I never meant to destroy you. I let him speak. He told me he was teaching now, using my chalkboard methods, telling his students about me. Not fame, not money, not requests, just acknowledgement. When he finished, I simply said, "Thank you." That was enough, not for reconciliation, but for closure. 3 weeks passed after the article went viral. My name was everywhere. His name was everywhere, too, just not in the way he wanted. He didn't call. He didn't message. He didn't show up. But silence was its own confession. I wasn't angry. I wasn't triumphant. I was simply resolved. Every day I walked through the desert near my Arizona home. Every day I breathed easier. No more waiting for a phone call that never came. No more wondering if I mattered. No more shrinking myself so others could stretch. Silence can be painful, but it can also be power. And mine was finally mine again. One morning, while watering my basil plant on the porch, I checked my email. New message. MIT Archival Committee. Subject. Your photo has arrived. Inside was a single photograph, blown up, digitized, restored. It was me at 23, hair pinned, glasses tilted, face smudged with chalk. A blackboard behind me covered in numbers I once wrote with burning certainty. They were hanging it in the Women in Hidden Innovation Gallery. 30 other women who had been erased by history would stand beside me. I printed the photo, held it against my chest, and whispered, "I remember you." Then, for the first time in decades, I cried, not from pain, but from recognition. Meanwhile, my son's world crumbled like sand under a boot. Investors pulled out. The Defense Contractor Review Board froze his pending contract. 3 engineers resigned publicly, citing ethical concerns. His honorary degree was placed under investigation. The shareholders filed a lawsuit, class action, multi-million-dollar. He stepped down from his own company. Every headline read, "Engineer built fortune on stolen work." But no one knew he stole it from his mother. They found out the next week. The second wave of articles hit like a tidal wave. Son used mother's patents without credit. Aerospace innovator erased by her own child. The woman behind the math speaks. I didn't speak. The document spoke for me. The truth spoke for me. History corrected itself. And his empire collapsed under the weight of my silence. On a warm January morning, I met with the board of the newly formed Hart Foundation, named after my maiden name. The foundation would fund women over 40 returning to engineering, women over 50 starting STEM degrees, women over 60 pursuing research, women over 70 inventing again, any woman whose brilliance had been buried by life. My $29 million became fellowships, grants, scholarships, lab funding, retirement reentry programs, legal funds for women facing workplace discrimination. Not 1 cent would ever go to a man who shut the door on me. The board asked, "Do you want a statue, a plaque, a hall named after you?" I shook my head. Give me classrooms full of women who think it's not too late. That's my monument. And they nodded. The world had overlooked me once, but I would spend the rest of my life ensuring other women were never overlooked again. Then one afternoon, a letter arrived. Not typed, not emailed, handwritten in purple gel pen. "Grandma, I saw you in my science book today. My teacher said you helped make planes safer and that you're famous now. Why didn't you tell me? Love, Lily." My granddaughter, the little girl whose palms pressed against the frozen window on Christmas Eve. I felt a weight shift inside me, something soft, something pure. She didn't know the story. She didn't know the pain. She only knew pride. I wrote back, "I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me first as your grandma. Everything else is extra. But now that you know, I hope it makes you feel powerful." The next week, her mother, my daughter-in-law, sent a short, curt message. "She wants to join the science club now. She keeps telling everyone she has your brain. Thought you'd want to know." I did, more than she could imagine. 2 months later, an acquaintance from New York reached out. They're divorcing. It didn't surprise me. My son had been eating ego for breakfast for years, and Jenna, sharp, ambitious, image-obsessed, had loved the version of him who stood on magazine covers, not the man who was now drowning in lawsuits. He spiraled, drank too much, got paranoid, lashed out, cut off friends, lost clients. By February, he was living alone in a rented apartment, and I was teaching a class of 10 retired women how to derive lift equations using chalk like we used to. Life is funny that way. Then, one afternoon, a letter arrived. Not typed, not emailed, handwritten in purple gel pen. "Grandma, I saw you in my science book today. My teacher said you helped make planes safer and that you're famous now. Why didn't you tell me? Love, Lily." My granddaughter, the little girl whose palms pressed against the frozen window on Christmas Eve. I felt a weight shift inside me, something soft, something pure. She didn't know the story. She didn't know the pain. She only knew pride. I wrote back, "I didn't tell you because I wanted you to see me first as your grandma. Everything else is extra. But now that you know, I hope it makes you feel powerful." The next week, her mother, my daughter-in-law, sent a short, curt message. "She wants to join the science club now. She keeps telling everyone she has your brain. Thought you'd want to know." I did, more than she could imagine. One evening, while peeling carrots for soup, my phone rang. Unknown number, blocked caller ID, but something told me, answer. I pressed the button. "Hello?" Silence. Then, "It's me." His voice was older, smaller, almost unrecognizable. "I'm not calling to ask for anything," he said. "I know I lost that right." I leaned against the counter. He took a shaking breath. "I just want to say I'm sorry." No excuses, no deflection, no entitlement, just remorse, real remorse. He continued, "I destroyed everything I had, but the worst thing I ever did was treat you like you were nothing." The line was quiet for a moment. "I'm teaching now," he said. "High school kids, engineering basics. Doesn't pay much, but it makes me feel like I'm building something real." He paused. "I use your chalkboard methods, and I tell them about you, about the woman who taught me math on a squeaky wooden chair, about the woman I forgot." He exhaled shakily. "I'm not asking to come back. I just didn't want another year to pass without saying the words I should have said long ago." I swallowed, spoke softly. "Thank you." And that was enough. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation, but release. The burden finally left my shoulders. Weeks later, a small cardboard package appeared at my door. No return address. Inside, a photograph, a medal, a folded trifold board design. It was my granddaughter at her school science fair. Her project title, Legacy Systems, From My Grandma to Me. Her smile was wide, proud, like she had inherited my fire. In the corner of her poster board, she had written, "She taught planes to land and women to rise." For the first time in months, maybe years, my knees weakened. I sat down and cried, not for what I lost, but for what lived on. That spring, New York called again. Not my son, not my daughter-in-law, not their friends. The Metropolitan Science Archive. They were opening a new exhibit, Women Who Engineered the Future. My story had its own wing. I flew first class. This time, my name was spelled correctly. This time, they greeted me at the airport with cameras, not for scandal, but for celebration. At the ceremony, a young girl approached me, maybe 14, braces, shy smile. She whispered, "You made me want to be an engineer." I touched her hand. "No," I said softly. "You made yourself want to be one. I just reminded you it's possible." She cried. I cried. Everyone cried. It was the happiest moment of my life. The next Christmas Eve, 1 year after the door had been shut in my face, I found myself sitting near my fireplace, knitting quietly. I wasn't lonely. I wasn't waiting for an invitation. I wasn't expecting a call. But then, a knock. Just one. Gentle. Deliberate. When I opened the door, there she was, Lily, my granddaughter, holding a box wrapped in silver paper. "Daddy helped me find you," she said. He said you'd want this." Inside, a small snowflake brooch, the same kind I wore when I was young. "My dad said you always wore one when you were working on your formulas." I felt my throat tighten. "Can I come in?" she asked. "Yes," I whispered, "always." And that night we decorated cookies, laughed, talked about school, and for the first time in decades, Christmas felt like Christmas. Months later, I received a letter from my son, short, handwritten. Mom, I know I ruined everything I touched, but I'm trying to rebuild myself piece by piece. I hope you're proud of who I'm becoming. Not the man I was, but the teacher I'm trying to be. Thank you for giving me a chance to grow up, even if it came too late. Love, your son. I folded it carefully, put it in the drawer beside my granddaughter's science fair photo. Some wounds never close, but some scars become constellations, a map of where we've been and where we survived. I did not take revenge. I took back my name, my legacy, my intelligence, my history, my peace, my worth. I did not take more than that, and I did not need to. My son lost his empire. I gained myself. And when he rebuilt himself, not with ego, not with patents, but with chalk and kindness, I led him. Not all the way back, but enough, because growth deserves the space to breathe. If you're listening to my story, maybe you've stood on a doorstep like mine. Maybe you've handed your heart to people who only wanted your hands. Maybe you've been unseen for decades. But listen closely. You are not invisible. You are simply unfinished. Your wisdom counts. Your past counts. Your scars count. Your worth counts. I waited 60 years to reclaim myself. You don't have to wait at all. And if anyone ever shuts the door on you, walk away with dignity. Take your legacy with you and let the world discover one day what they threw away. Because brilliance doesn't expire, and justice has no age limit. After the museum opening, after the applause, after the interviews and the headlines, I return home to silence again. Not the painful silence of being forgotten, the peaceful silence of being full. My medals sat on the table. My old flight algorithms were preserved behind glass. My childhood photo hung in a museum, but inside my small Arizona home, nothing had changed. The kettle still whistled, my chair still creaked, the desert wind still rattled the screen door at night. Fame had found me late, but I didn't crave it. I didn't need lights, cameras, or prestige. All I ever needed was acknowledgement, and now that I had it, everything felt balanced. But life rarely stays balanced for long. Fate always has a follow-up. And so did my son. It was a hot day in April when someone knocked on my door. I wasn't expecting anyone. My hands were sticky with lemon juice from cleaning my apron. When I opened the door, my heart skipped. My son. He stood on my porch, hair disheveled, shirt wrinkled, eyes tired. He wasn't the polished CEO from the glossy magazines. He wasn't the boy who once clung to my skirts. He wasn't even the man who shut me out on Christmas. He was something in between. Humility will do that to a person. He held a plain brown box in both hands. "Hi, Mom." His voice was soft, careful, like he was afraid I might close the door. I didn't speak. I didn't move. I didn't welcome him in, but I didn't shut him out either. He offered the box. I brought something I took. The word took hung between us. Guilt is heavier than grief, and I saw both on his face. I stepped aside just enough for him to enter. Not forgiveness, not reconciliation. Permission to speak. He walked in like a man entering a church. We sat at the kitchen table where I once taught him algebra. He placed the box in front of me and opened it. Inside was something I had not seen in decades. A stack of my old punch cards, neatly bundled, my handwriting on each one. The cards I thought had been destroyed. My breath shook. Where did you get these? He swallowed. They were in your old closet. I kept them for years. I didn't understand what they were back then, and when I finally did, I didn't want to admit it. The truth cut deeper than any lie. He had known. Maybe not everything, but enough. Enough to know where his talent came from. Enough to know whose shoulders he stood on. Enough to know who he betrayed. We talked for almost 2 hours. No yelling, no blaming, no bitterness, just truth. Raw, bruised truth. He told me everything. How overwhelmed he felt as a young father. How pressured he was in the aerospace world. How he had used my formulas because it felt familiar. Because it felt like home. Because he thought I would be proud. Proud. Pride is not built from stolen pieces. He looked down at his hands. He said, I wanted to succeed so badly, I forgot who helped me learn what success even looked like. I sighed. You forgot more than that. He winced. Mom, no. I studied him quietly. His shoulders slumped, his voice cracked. His confidence, once sharp enough to cut, was now soft, almost tender. For the first time in years, I saw not the man he became, but the boy he once was. And that hurt in a different way. When he finished speaking, he asked, Is there a chance, ever, that you could forgive me? I stared at him. Forgive? Forgiveness is not a door you simply unlock with regret. It is a garden you tend, slowly, carefully. I folded my hands. I won't make promises I can't keep. He nodded, eyes glistening. But, I continued, there is one thing you can do. He looked up quickly, as if I had offered him something priceless. You want to regain my trust, then earn it. How? Teach. He blinked. Teach? Yes. Go to classrooms, go to community centers, teach children engineering the way I taught you. Pass on the knowledge you inherited, not from your degrees, not from your patents, but from my kitchen table. His lips parted, stunned. He didn't expect that. Redemption is not measured in apologies, I said. It's measured in who benefits from your change. He lowered his head. I can do that, he whispered. I will do that. And I believed him, not completely, not blindly, but enough. Before he left, he hesitated at the door. The Christmas Eve folder, he murmured. The inheritance, the $29 million. He swallowed. That was meant for us, wasn't it? Yes, I answered honestly. He nodded slowly. And now, it's gone. His face fell, not in greed, but in grief. Gone didn't mean wasted. Gone meant redirected. My legacy belongs to women who never got the chance I lost, I said. He blinked, tears forming again. I understand. That was the first step. The second would come later. When he left, he didn't ask for anything else, and that alone was progress. Weeks passed. I received emails from teachers. Your son is volunteering in our engineering club. Your son is tutoring low-income students for free. He redesigned our STEM curriculum. My heart didn't leap. It didn't melt. It just softened. A thread. Not a rope, not a bridge, but a thread. A thread he would have to strengthen on his own, one day at a time. My granddaughter visited more often, sometimes weekly. We baked cookies, built solar-powered toys, put together puzzles of the solar system. One afternoon she asked, "Grandma, why did Dad say you were a burden?" I froze. Children don't fear questions adults avoid. I set down my teacup. He wasn't thinking clearly, I said, and sometimes people say hurtful things when they're overwhelmed. Do you hate him? I shook my head. No, but I don't forget. She nodded in that wise little girl way. Dad said you're the reason he became an engineer. I smiled sadly. I'm the reason he could, but he's the reason he did. She thought about that, then smiled brightly. I want to be like you. My throat tightened. Oh, sweetheart, you already are. In late autumn, something unexpected happened. A large envelope arrived, stamped with gold lettering. Inside, you are invited to deliver the keynote address at the National Engineering Ethics Summit. They wanted me to speak about credit, legacy, intellectual honesty, motherhood, and the cost of silence. But more importantly, my son was also invited as a secondary panelist, not for his success, not for his downfall, for his rebuilding. His topic, Inheritance of Genius, Ethical Responsibility in Generational Innovation. He called me that night, voice shaky but hopeful. I don't deserve to stand on that stage with you, I answered. Whether you deserve it or not isn't the point. Whether you contribute now is. He breathed out slowly. I will. The day of the summit, the auditorium was filled with scientists, engineers, students, and journalists. My photo appeared on the screen. The room grew quiet. I walked onto the stage, not trembling, not afraid, not hiding. I walked with the weight of my past and the freedom of my future. I delivered my speech, 22 minutes of truth. When I finished, the room rose in a standing ovation. I stepped back, and my son walked forward. He didn't stand tall with ego. He stood humbly. The first words out of his mouth were, "Hi, I'm Daniel, and everything I know, everything I ever built, came from the woman who taught me math on a kitchen chalkboard." He turned toward me. She is my brilliance. I am her lesson. People cried. People gasped. People clapped. Not for him, for us, for the truth, for the healing, for the legacy. That Christmas, exactly 2 years after being shut out of their home, I found myself sitting at a different doorway, my own. But this time, a knock, a small one. I opened it. My granddaughter, holding hot cocoa, smiling. Behind her, my son, not asking for entry, just standing there, waiting, not demanding forgiveness, just offering presence. He whispered, "Mom, can we come in?" I studied him, not the man he was, not the boy he used to be, the person he became. And slowly, carefully, I stepped aside. "Only if you promise something," I said. He nodded quickly. "Anything." "Never make anyone feel invisible on Christmas again." He swallowed, eyes shining. "I promise." And they came inside, not as repaired family, but as people trying. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes that is everything. The night after the summit, something strange happened. I dreamed of a room I hadn't stepped into for 60 years, my first lab. Long metal desks, punch cards stacked like towers, computers the size of closets humming in cold corners, the chalkboard covered in equations only 3 people understood. I saw myself, younger, sharper, unbroken, racing between machines, pencil behind my ear, creating the algorithms no one knew were mine. And behind her, behind me, stood a little girl, Lily. She walked up to my younger self, tugging her sleeve. "Grandma," she whispered, "I'm going to finish what you started." My young self smiled, the smile I didn't know I still remembered. I woke with tears, not sadness, recognition. My legacy wasn't in the museums, or the articles, or the awards. It was standing right beside me, in the shape of a child with curious eyes and steady hands. The next time Lily came over, she found the old chalkboard propped in my living room. "Grandma, is that the one you used with Dad?" The very same. She touched it like it was sacred. I drew a simple equation, one I taught her father when he was her age. "What's this?" I asked. She squinted, then frowned. "No idea, but I want to learn." We spent an hour drawing diagrams, angles, vectors. She wasn't just learning, she was absorbing. Her questions were sharp, her attention unwavering. And when she finally solved her first mini equation, she squealed, "Grandma, I did it!" Her excitement filled the room with warmth I thought I'd lost forever. I realized something. I wasn't rebuilding a bridge with my son. I was building a brand new one with his daughter, one that didn't have the cracks of the past or the weight of regret. A fresh foundation, made of chalk and hope. A week later, I found an envelope on my porch. No knock, no doorbell, just an envelope slid quietly under the door. My handwriting trembled when I saw the sender. Daniel, my son. Inside was a letter, not typed, handwritten. "My dearest Mom, I want to tell you something I've hidden my entire adult life." My heart tightened. He said, "I always knew, not everything, not the full story, but enough." He confessed that he recognized my formulas the first day he worked at the aerospace firm, that he'd seen my old notebooks when he was a teenager and secretly admired them, that he felt guilt, admiration, and jealousy all tangled inside him. He said, I wasn't ashamed of you. I was ashamed of myself because I knew I wasn't half the engineer you were. I pressed the paper to my chest. Even brilliance can be lonely, and jealousy can be quiet poison. The next line cracked me open. I pushed you away because every time I looked at you, I saw everything I wished I could be. I cried then, deep, slow tears, not for the hurt he caused, but for the hurt he carried. We had both been silent for too long, and silence breaks people unless someone speaks
For the
first.
first time in years, I invited my son to meet me somewhere neutral. A small, old-fashioned coffee shop downtown, the kind that still served cinnamon rolls as big as your hand. He arrived early. He looked nervous standing when I approached. "Mom," he said softly. We sat. No drama, no tension, just two people trying to learn each other again. The waitress came. He ordered tea. I ordered coffee. Halfway through our drinks, he said, "I want you to come back to New York next Christmas. Not to my house, not to Jenna's parents. Just be near us. Be near Lily." I studied him. This wasn't an invitation. It was a request for a chance to rebuild something slowly, carefully. "I'll think about it," I said. He nodded with gratitude, not disappointment. And we talked about work, about Lily's school, about the foundation, not about the past, not yet. Healing isn't linear, but it begins with small conversations in quiet coffee shops with cinnamon rolls between you. January rolled in with cold mornings and warm sunsets. I sat at my kitchen table one evening, pen in hand, writing my resolutions. I wrote, "Continue teaching women engineering, expand the Hart Foundation, publish my memoir, spend time with Lily, allow Daniel the space to grow, protect peace at all costs." Then, after a long pause, I added, "Let myself be loved again." When you spend decades being invisible, you learn to shrink. But this year, this chapter, I wanted to expand, not loudly, just enough. In February, I received an invitation from NASA. They wanted to create a training module series based on my early algorithm frameworks for young engineers. They wanted to use my voice. My voice. "Would you be willing to narrate the course introduction?" the director asked. I laughed. I've never been the narrator. I was always the ghost behind the code. "That's exactly why we want you," he replied. So I traveled to Houston, sat in a studio, read lines into a microphone. Lines like, "Innovation does not begin with brilliance. It begins with belief. When no one thinks you can do it, that is when you must. Silence is not absence. Silence is endurance." Engineers in training would hear those words, my words, before their first lesson. I felt young again, not erased, not forgotten, found. The next December, I flew to New York. Not on Christmas Eve, earlier, quietly. Daniel picked me up at the airport. No crowds, no chaos, just him, waiting. He carried my suitcase this time, at his small apartment, modest, warm, nothing like the fancy townhouse he once flaunted. Lily ran to me.
Mama! She hugged me so tightly I almost fell. There was a little tree in the living room, decorated with cheap ornaments and handmade crafts, but it felt real, more real than any staged Christmas I've ever witnessed. Daniel handed me a small box. Inside was a new snowflake brooch with tiny engraved initials, A.H. Adele Hart, my maiden name, my identity. "Mom," he whispered, "this time we want you here." And I believed him. That night, after Lily fell asleep, Daniel and I sat across from each other with hot cocoa. He stared at the steam rising from his mug. "Mom, can I tell you something difficult?" I nodded. "I used to resent you," he said quietly. Not anger, not hostility, a truth finally spoken. For being brilliant, for being the smartest person in every room, for being the one I could never surpass. I thought if I pushed you away, the pressure would go away too. I sighed. "Oh, sweetheart." He looked up, eyes glassy. "I never stopped loving you. I just didn't know how to love someone who intimidated me." The words were sharp but honest, and honesty, even painful, is healing. "Daniel," I whispered, "you didn't need to surpass me. You just needed to stand beside me." He cried then, quietly, brokenly, and I reached across the table and held his hand for the first time in years. By spring, the Hart Foundation had grown beyond anything I imagined. Hundreds of women took our courses. Dozens entered engineering programs. 3 patented their inventions. 2 received NASA internships. And every success felt like a small piece of my erased past growing back stronger. Daniel visited Arizona twice, not to stay, just to help teach. The 3 of us, me, Daniel, and Lily, stood in front of a whiteboard one afternoon helping a retired nurse solve a lift equation. It struck me then. This was legacy. Not money, not fame, not buildings. People. People who rise because you stood tall again. Years later, when I grew older and my hands couldn't hold chalk as firmly, Lily grew into a brilliant young woman. She stood at the head of her engineering class. She built drones. She wrote code. She smiled with my smile. And one night, Christmas Eve of all nights, we sat together by my small fireplace. She leaned her head on my shoulder. "Grandma," she whispered, "when people talk about Slight, they always talk about pilots and equipment and missions." She lifted my old snowflake brooch. "But I'll tell them the truth. Planes fly because of you." I cupped her cheek gently. "No, my love, planes fly because someone believed they could." "And you still believe?" I smiled, tired but certain. "I believe in you." A quiet moment, a peaceful one, and then she whispered, "We won't ever let your name disappear again." I closed my eyes, not to sleep, to savor, because for the first time in my life, my legacy wasn't being taken. It was being carried forward with pride, with purpose, with love. And Christmas didn't hurt anymore. 2 years after the truth came out, NASA invited me again, not to speak, not to teach, but to unveil something new. A star. They had officially named it
HART 27 in honor of my contributions to early aerospace calculations. I stood on a raised platform, lights dim, a projection of the night sky above me. The director gestured to the glowing dot on the star map. "This one," he said, "shines brighter than we expected. Fitting, isn't it?" The audience laughed softly. I didn't, because in that tiny light I saw every piece of myself I thought would disappear, now suspended in the cosmos for generations to see. When I stepped off stage, a young woman grabbed my hand. "Miss Hart," she whispered, "that star is going to hang over every graduation ceremony, every launch simulation, every night we stay late doing calculations." I squeezed her hand back. "Make it count, dear. Make it yours, too." The third Christmas after the fallout felt different. Not perfect, not magical, but peaceful. Daniel invited me not to New York, but to a small rented cabin in Vermont. Neutral ground, safe ground. Lily helped me walk up the snowy path, my aging knees stiff but steady. Inside, the cabin smelled like cinnamon and pine. Daniel approached me slowly, a box wrapped in silver paper in his hands. "I got you something." He set the gift in my lap. Inside was a framed photo, a picture of the three of us, me, Daniel, Lily, standing in front of a chalkboard with equations behind us. Out of focus, but visible. Legacy in one frame. I ran my fingers along the edges. "Thank you," I whispered. Daniel looked down. "No, thank you." And for the first time in decades, we shared a Christmas that didn't hurt. A month later, a heavy envelope arrived, sealed with the emblem of the Department of Defense. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside, a formal acknowledgement of my contributions to national defense and aerospace advancement, signed by the Secretary of Defense. I read the letter twice before tears blurred the words. It had taken them 60 decades, but it still mattered. Daniel visited that night. He read the letter silently, jaw clenching, eyes wet. "I'm proud of you," he whispered. I smiled softly. "You always were," I said. "You just forgot." He nodded. "I won't forget." At age 16, Lily was accepted into a youth aerospace program she called Breathless. "Grandma, I built my first simulation." I flew to Houston for her final presentation. She stood in front of a panel of instructors, confident, brilliant, bold, and explained her flight correction model. It was familiar. Hauntingly so, not because she copied my work, because she improved it. Every flaw I had struggled with decades ago, she corrected with fresh eyes, modern skill, and a heart full of determination. When the panel finished scoring, the head instructor smiled. "Miss Hart, you didn't just pass, you soared." I cried, not because she succeeded, but because she belonged. A few months later, I collapsed while teaching a class. The doctors found what I had suspected for weeks. My heart was weakening. Age had caught up with me, quietly, like a shadow. Daniel rushed to my bedside. "You should have told me," he whispered. "I didn't want to worry," I replied. He took my hand gently. "I've wasted too many years staying away from you. I won't waste another day." And for once, I let him stay, not out of weakness, but out of trust rebuilt with careful hands. I continued teaching at the community center, but one day I told them this will be my final course. Dozens of women cried. I didn't. I stood tall because this ending wasn't sorrow. It was closure. At the end of the class, they surprised me with a plaque. Adele Hart, for teaching us the science of flight and the courage to rise. As they clapped, I felt something stronger than pride. Fulfillment. My son, who once ran multi-million-dollar aerospace operations, now taught at a modest high school in a low-income district. He didn't make six figures anymore. He made impact. His students adored him. One day when I visited, I overheard a teenager say, "Mr. Hart teaches like he wants us to succeed, not like he wants to look smart." He learned humility the hard way, but he learned. After class, he hugged me. "Thank you for letting me rebuild," he whispered. "You rebuilt yourself," I corrected him. He shook his head. "No, I rebuilt because you showed me how." The Hart Foundation expanded across 3 states. NASA partnered with us. MIT offered scholarships. Private donors funded entire programs. Women who had been ignored were finally being elevated. Some entered engineering. Some revived old dreams. Some simply reclaimed the confidence the world stole from them. Every graduation ceremony ended with the same phrase, "She rose so we could." I watched from the audience, oxygen tube in my nose, hand in Lily's. This wasn't just impact. This was immortality. One evening, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the star named after me. I felt a heaviness in my chest. Not pain, acceptance. I knew my time was approaching. I wrote 3 letters, one to Lily, one to Daniel, and one to the women of my foundation. I sealed them carefully. I smiled. I had lived a life many never get to reclaim, and I had rewritten the ending. It was Christmas Eve again, the day that once broke me, but this year was different. Daniel picked me up. Lily helped me into the car. The cabin in Vermont was decorated with soft lights, homemade ornaments, and warmth that felt earned. We ate dinner slowly, laughed easily, talked like a family reborn. Then Lily brought out a book, a scrapbook. On the cover, "My Grandma Who Taught Planes to Fly." Inside were photos of my work, my chalkboards, my equations, my newspaper articles, my awards, my star, my entire life finally recorded. I touched the pages gently. "Thank you," I whispered. Daniel leaned in. "No, Mom, thank you for letting us try again." I squeezed their hands. "This," I said, "is the Christmas I always wished for." That night, I dreamed again. This time, not of lads, not of code, but of a runway, a long, glowing runway in a quiet desert. My younger self stood beside me in her lab coat. She held my hand. "It's time," she whispered. I nodded. I wasn't afraid. Behind us, Lily stood at another chalkboard, smiling proudly. "You go ahead," she said. "I'll take it from here." I stepped onto the runway. The light grew brighter. I walked toward it, calm, steady, free. I passed away on a clear morning in early spring. Daniel found me peacefully in my bed, hands folded, a soft smile on my face, the snowflake brooch pinned over my heart. There was no struggle, no fear, just rest. My obituary was printed in major newspapers, but the headline that mattered most was Lily's. She taught the world to rise. NASA sent representatives. MIT sent flowers. Dozens of women from my classes attended. Lily spoke last. Her voice cracked but held steady. My grandmother was erased once, but she refused to stay silent, and because of her, I will never be invisible. She placed my chalk on the top of my casket. Rest, Grandma. Your equations continue. A month later, Daniel held a ceremony. The foundation was renamed the Adele Hart Institute for Women in Engineering. Lily was named the first Youth Research Fellow. She stood on stage, tall and certain. "My grandmother's story won't end with her," she said. "It begins with us." The audience erupted in applause, and somewhere I felt visible. Years passed. Lily became an aerospace engineer. Daniel became a respected teacher. My work was included in military archives. One night, during a rocket launch at Cape Canaveral, Lily whispered, "This trajectory was built on her equations." The rocket shot upward, cutting through clouds, through darkness, toward Heart 27, my star, my mark, my legacy. And as the rocket disappeared into the night sky, its path glowing like a trail of everything I ever was, Lily whispered, "Grandma, you're flying again." 1 week after the funeral, Lily entered her grandmother's study alone. The sun hit the dust particles just right. The room looked frozen in time. On the desk sat a leather-bound notebook with her name written in cursive. "For Lily, when you are ready." She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside were flight equations, personal letters, lost memories, warnings, blueprints, and a final message. "You were always meant to finish what I began." Tears filled her eyes. She whispered, "I will, Grandma. I promise." 2 months later, Lily received an email from NASA. "We invite you to join our next-gen aerospace student program." She gasped. Daniel nearly dropped the coffee pot. "You did it," he whispered. Lily shook her head. "No, Dad, we did it. Grandma did it." She printed the email and tucked it inside the notebook, where it belonged. While organizing her grandmother's belongings, Lily found something unexpected. A section at the back of the notebook filled with ripped-out pages. 3 pages were missing. The edges were torn sharply. A message remained. "If these pages are gone, it means the system is not safe yet. Be careful who you trust." Lily froze. Her grandmother wasn't only brilliant, she was protecting something unfinished, something dangerous. At NASA, Lily spent her lunch breaks in the Historical Systems Archive. One day, an archivist approached her quietly. "You're Adele Hart's granddaughter." She nodded. He lowered his voice.
There are files of hers that were never declassified, files people higher up still don't want anyone to see. Lily's stomach knotted. Why? The archivist looked around. Because her work didn't just guide planes, it guided weapons. During her 3rd week in the program, Lily encountered something bizarre. A corrupted file in the NASA database bearing her grandmother's initials, AH 1964. The file was locked with an encryption algorithm no modern system could crack. But Lily recognized the structure. It was her grandmother's style. A smile crept onto her face. This was meant for me, for her and no one else. The next week, a black car arrived at Lily's dorm. 2 men in suits stepped out. One held a folder. "We need to speak privately," he said. Lily's heart raced. About what? About what you found. She froze. They shouldn't know. She hadn't told anyone. "We want to ensure you do not access sensitive material beyond your clearance." She forced a steady breath. "I'm following the rules." He leaned in. "Miss Hart, your grandmother didn't follow rules, and it cost the government dearly." Her spine chilled. "Don't make her mistakes," he warned. One night, after the lab emptied, Lily followed the blueprint from her grandmother's notebook, a blueprint for a restricted room beneath the facility, a room that didn't exist on any map. She typed in the encryption pattern from page 3 of the notebook. The door clicked. It opened. Inside were boxes labeled Hart Prototype, Project Trinity Phase 3, Confidential, Eyes Only. Lily whispered, "Grandma, what were you building?" Inside the largest box was a metal device. Part engine, part navigation unit, part something else. Attached was a handwritten note. "The world is not ready for autonomous aerial stabilization. If they use it wrong, they can start wars from the sky. Adele Hart." Lily stepped back, terrified. Her grandmother hadn't just designed flight systems. She had built the foundation for unmanned aerial control decades before drones even existed. And she hid it to protect humanity. The next week, a black car arrived at Lily's dorm. 2 men in suits stepped out. One held a folder. "We need to speak privately," he said. Lily's heart raced. About what? About what you found. She froze. They shouldn't know. She hadn't told anyone. We want to ensure you do not access sensitive material beyond your clearance. She forced a steady breath. I'm following the rules. He leaned in. Miss Hart, your grandmother didn't follow rules, and it cost the government dearly. Her spine chilled. Don't make her mistakes, he warned. Determined to find answers, Lily visited the Hart Institute. She asked to see her grandmother's original documents. The archivist hesitated. There's a box we never opened. We thought we should wait for you. Inside was a second journal. On the first page, if you are reading this, they found the files. Finish my work, but stay alive doing it. Lily gasped. Her grandmother wasn't just a forgotten engineer. She was part of a buried project with global implications. Late one evening, Lily walked to her car. Footsteps followed her, slow, deliberate. She quickened her pace. A voice echoed behind her. "You're digging into things that should stay buried." She spun around. It was the same man from the cafeteria. He took a step closer. "Your grandmother was warned, just like you are being warned now." Lily clenched her fists, and she didn't stop. He smiled, and look where that got her. Her blood ran cold. Was he implying, no, her grandmother died peacefully, didn't she? The man's silhouette vanished into shadow.
Back at the cabin in Vermont, Lily searched for anything that might explain her grandmother's message. Behind a loose floorboard, she found an envelope. Inside, a letter addressed to Daniel, never sent. It read, "They approached me again. They want the prototype. I destroyed the schematics in front of them, but they don't know I memorized the last sequence. If anything happens to me, they will come for Lily next. Keep her away from my work, but if she insists, tell her the truth." Lily crushed the letter to her chest. "Grandma, did they kill you?" Lily confronted her father. "Tell me everything." Daniel looked exhausted, older than his years. "I promised her," he whispered. "I promised I would protect you." Lily slammed the journal down. "She's dead, Dad. I deserve the truth." Daniel took a shaky breath. "Your grandmother didn't just work on flight control. She worked on something else, something the government wanted and she refused to hand over." Lily felt the floor tilt beneath her. "Dad, what was she building?" Daniel's voice dropped to a whisper. "A system that could control any aircraft remotely." Lily froze. "That's impossible." Daniel shook his head. "Your grandmother never believed in impossible." That week, someone broke into the foundation, not to steal money, not to vandalize. They went straight to her grandmother's archive room, straight to the hidden vault, straight to the missing pages. The security footage went dark for exactly 7 minutes. A professional job. The only thing left behind was a warning written on the monitor. "Stop, or you will join her." Lily could have stopped. She could have walked away. But she was Adele Hart's granddaughter. Running was not in her blood. She gathered everything, the notebook, the journals, the missing pages, the prototype photos, and took them to the only person she trusted, her engineering professor, Dr. Kaminsky. He examined the files. "We have 2 possibilities," he said. "Either she was part of something too advanced for its time, or she invented something no one should ever control." Lily nodded. "And now it's my responsibility." Kaminsky leaned back, studying her. "If you open this door, there is no going back." Lily closed her grandmother's journal. "I'm already inside." 2 nights later, alarms blared throughout the NASA historical wing. Lily rushed in. The archive room was filled with smoke. Firefighters swarmed the hall. "What happened?" she cried. A woman grabbed her arm. "It was arson. Targeted. Whoever did it knew exactly what they wanted." Lily stared in horror at the burning boxes. Her grandmother's legacy, her equations, her research, going up in flames. Then a firefighter approached her. "We found something saved in the fireproof cabinet." He handed her a charred folder. On the cover, Trinity, Phase 4, H hat. Lily whispered. They weren't trying to erase her work. They were trying to stop me from finding Phase 4. Inside the salvaged folder was a single equation, one so complex even Lily couldn't parse it immediately. A note was attached. Phase 4 must never be built unless the world demands it. Lily stared at the formula. It described not just flight stabilization, not remote control, not automation, something else. Atmospheric manipulation. Lily whispered, "Oh my God, Grandma, you discovered a way to control weather patterns." No wonder they wanted her work. No wonder she hid it. The next morning, Lily was summoned to a restricted office. The same two men in suits waited for her. A general now stood between them. "Miss Hart," he said, "we know you accessed the Trinity files." Lily kept her voice steady. "They were my grandmother's." He slid a document across the table. "These files don't belong to her. They belong to the United States government." Lily clenched her fists. She died protecting them. The general's expression didn't change. She died because she refused to cooperate. Lily's blood froze. "Are you saying—" The general leaned forward. "I'm saying this. Stop digging or you'll end up the same way she did." Lily sat alone in her dorm, staring at the Phase 4 equation. She had 3 choices. 1, destroy it like her grandmother tried. 2, hand it over to the government. 3, finish it before anyone else could misuse it. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her mind. "Finish my work, but stay alive doing it." Lily stood, decision made. She gathered her equipment, her notebooks, her laptop, and booked a ticket to the only place her grandmother ever trusted, the desert cabin in Arizona. There, she would finish what Adele Hart started, but this time the world would know exactly who built it. As the plane ascended into the clouds, Lily looked out the window toward the star named after her grandmother, Hart 27, flickered faintly like a wink from above. Lily whispered, "Don't worry, Grandma. They won't steal your work again. This time, I'm ready." The flight broke through the atmosphere, leaving a glowing trail of light behind it, just like the woman whose legacy would never be erased. Lily Hart had begun her ascent, and the world had no idea what was coming. Lily landed in Arizona just after sunset. The desert wind hit her face like a whisper from the past. The cabin looked exactly as she remembered: weathered wood, cracked windows, and the faint smell of cedar and engine oil. Her grandmother's sanctuary, her birthplace of genius, her battlefield. She unlocked the door, stepped inside, and whispered, "I'm home, Grandma." Lily followed the instructions in the back of the notebook. Tap the 3rd floorboard, slide it left, press down hard. A hidden panel clicked open. Inside was a metal safe with a cracked keypad and faded label, Project Trinity Final Phase. Her heart hammered. Grandma hadn't just hidden blueprints. She had hidden Trinity's final phase. Lily typed the passcode she found in the journal, HART Then the year 1964. The safe clicked. Inside was a stack of engineering diagrams, a 60-year-old microfilm reel, and a worn envelope labeled, "If they find you, run." Lily's hands shook. "Grandma, what were you protecting?" The top document lest Lily gasp. It was a diagram of electromagnetic atmospheric manipulation, a machine capable of altering wind patterns, storm paths, and pressure systems, weather control, the holy grail of warfare, or the end of the world. At the bottom, her grandmother wrote, "Humans should not wield this power, but if the world collapses, this may save us." Lily whispered, "You were building a shield, not a weapon." As Lily stepped outside to get air, the desert wind picked up quickly. Clouds rolled in unnaturally fast. Lightning cracked in the distance. A voice behind her said, "You shouldn't have opened the vault." Lily turned sharply. It was the same man from NASA, the shadow scientist. He didn't look surprised to see her. He looked prepared. "Your grandmother ran from Trinity," he said. "You won't get that chance." A sandstorm swallowed his silhouette, and he disappeared. Lily rushed back inside and locked the door. Then headlights appeared. A red surveillance van, unmarked, engine running. Someone was watching her. Someone who knew she found Trinity. She turned off every light and crouched behind the kitchen counter. The van stayed parked for 2 hours. Then it drove away, slowly, deliberately, like a warning. Lily brewed tea to steady her nerves and opened the next envelope. Inside was a letter written 2 months before Adele's death. "They called Trinity dangerous. They were right, but not for the reasons they believed. It can stabilize hurricanes, cool drought zones, and break wildfire cycles. But in the wrong hands, it can devastate countries. They wanted the weapon. I built the cure." Lily bit her lip. Her grandmother had been a hero, a silent one. At midnight, Lily activated her laptop. A notification popped up immediately. "Unauthorized access detected on your NASA user ID." Someone was trying to log in using her credentials. She opened a secure program her grandmother designed. A satellite feed loaded. On screen, a facility. Concrete walls, barbed wire, drones circling above. A red label blinked. "Trinity Complex, Phoenix, Arizona." Lily's breath caught. There was a Trinity base, a real one, active, and her grandmother had hid the coordinates. Her phone rang. It was her father. His voice shook. "Lily, men came to the house." Her blood froze. "What?" "They asked about you, your location, your grandmother's journals." Lily pressed her knuckles to her lips. "What did they tell him?" "Nothing," Daniel said. "But one of them said—" He hesitated. "He said you're repeating your grandmother's mistakes." Lily whispered, "They killed her, didn't they?" Daniel didn't answer. Silence said enough. The next morning, Lily stepped outside cautiously. A woman stood near the cactus line, tall, black tactical coat, dark sunglasses. Not government, not military, something else. "You're Adele's granddaughter," she said. "Who are you?" Lily demanded. The woman removed her glasses. "I'm from the Phoenix Resistance. We've been protecting Trinity since the day your grandmother fled." Lily's jaw dropped. "There's a resistance?" The woman nodded. "And you're the key to finishing what she started." The woman, her name was Mara, led Lily down a hidden path behind the canyon. There, camouflaged beneath boulders, was a metal hatch. Inside, dozens of engineers, old, young, all working quietly. Blueprints spread across tables, Trinity systems glowing on screens. Mara whispered, "These people worked with your grandmother, or their parents did. She wasn't running away, Lily. She was building an army of protectors." Lily felt her heart swell. "She trusted them," she whispered. "She trusted you," Mara corrected. In the bunker's central chamber stood a dusty projector. Mara handed Lily a tape. "A message from your grandmother," she said, "recorded the week she vanished." Lily's knees weakened. They inserted the tape. Static. Then Adele Hart appeared on screen, older, frail, but fierce as ever. "If you're watching this, I'm already gone." Lily covered her mouth as tears fell. Adele continued, "Trinity must be completed, but it must never be weaponized. They will come for you, just like they came for me. But you are stronger than they know." Lily sobbed quietly. The message ended with, "Finish what I couldn't, and don't let them bury the truth." An alarm blared. Mara cursed under her breath. "They found us." Footsteps thundered above. Drones buzzed outside, government forces descending on the canyon. "Get Lily out!" someone shouted. "She's the last heart." Lily grabbed the notebooks and sprinted through the back exit. Explosion, smoke, chaos. The resistance wasn't fighting to win. They were fighting to protect her. Mara shoved Lily into a narrow tunnel carved into the rock. "Follow the light at the end," she said. "I'll hold them off." Lily's voice cracked. "But you'll—" "Go, Lily. Your grandmother didn't die so you could get caught too." Lily ran. Her lungs burned. Her heart pounded. Behind her, she heard gunfire, shouts, and then silence. When Lily emerged from the tunnel, 2 miles away, her phone vibrated. A single notification. "Location request received." NASA Security Division. They were tracking her. She hurled her phone into a ravine and kept running. The desert stretched ahead, empty, hot, endless. But she wasn't stopping. Not now, not ever. As the sun set, Lily collapsed behind a boulder. She pulled out the final page from her grandmother's journal. It read, "The world will try to silence the person who knows the truth, but truth is the one thing they can never tell." Lily wiped her tears. She stood tall, bruised but unbroken. She whispered to the desert wind, "I'm finishing Trinity, and I'm exposing everything." The stars above flickered as if her grandmother was listening. The war her grandmother began, Lily would end. Lily wandered the desert until moonrise, exhausted, blistered, shaking. Then she saw it. A small adobe house tucked into a canyon fold. A lantern glowed faintly inside. When she stepped through the door, a man in his 70s looked up. "You have your grandmother's eyes," he said. Lily froze. "You knew her?" He nodded, removing his glasses. "I was her partner on Trinity Phase 2. Her breath caught. "You're Dr. Elias Renford," he said, "the last living architect of Trinity."
Renford poured her hot chamomile tea as if they were fugitives hunted by the government. "You were expected," he said. Lily stared at him. "My grandmother? She planned all this?" Renford chuckled. "Your grandmother planned backwards, forwards, diagonally. She was the smartest person I ever met." He leaned in. "And she trusted you more than anyone." Lily whispered, "I don't even understand Trinity fully yet." Renford tapped her notebook. "Your grandmother left you enough breadcrumbs to finish the whole feast."
Over the next 3 days, Renford and Lily worked through Adele's notebooks, page by page, diagram by diagram. Trinity wasn't just a weather manipulation system. It was a global atmospheric stabilizer using satellite signals combined with electromagnetic wave sequencing to balance hurricanes, droughts, heat waves, rapid climate shifts. "We could save millions," Lily whispered. Renford nodded. "Yes, that's why they want to weaponize it." Trinity had everything except one missing component. A sequence burned off the last blueprint. Lily slammed the notebook in frustration. "It's incomplete." Renford smiled gently. "No, it's hidden." He slid a photograph across the table, a picture of Adele at a chalkboard from 1972. Hidden behind her shoulder, a small equation, barely visible. Lily gasped. She hid it in plain sight. Together, they decoded the photograph. It was the final sequence, the heart of Trinity. They assembled the first prototype in the safe house basement. Coils, transmitters, microcapacitors, atmospheric sensors, an AI module Adele had designed decades too early. Lily connected the final circuit. The machine hummed to life. Lights pulsed. The air vibrated softly. Renford's voice cracked. "Adele, we did it." Lily whispered, "No, she did it." Lily uploaded a test sequence. A small storm cell hovered 20 miles northwest. "Just a nudge," she said. She tapped enter. The machine pulsed. The storm shifted 1 mile east. Renford stared at the monitor, stunned. "It works," he whispered. "We just changed the wind." Lily covered her mouth. "We changed the atmosphere." News headlines around the world the next day. Microburst splits in 2. Meteorologists baffled. Sudden pressure shift avoids power plant. Coincidence? Weather satellite detects unusual EM signature. Lily's hands trembled. Her tiny activation had been felt around the world. "What have we done?" she whispered. Renford answered softly. "We started a revolution." NASA's global weather satellites sent an alert. "Unknown signal detected. Arizona sector." The same 2 government men sat in a dark meeting room. "It's Hart," one said. The other nodded grimly. She activated Trinity. They locked eyes. "Deploy retrieval team." That night, as Lily slept by the fire, Renford sat beside her. "You deserve the truth," he whispered. "When the government demanded Trinity, Adele refused." Lily nodded. "I know." Renford shook his head. "You don't know why." Then he said it. They planned to use Trinity to collapse agriculture in enemy nations, to starve millions. Lily felt sick. She refused because she wasn't building a weapon. Renford nodded. She built a shield, and they killed her for it. At dawn, Lily stepped outside with her notebook. That's when she heard it. Helicopter blades, drones, boots on gravel. Renford pulled her inside. "They found us." A team in black tactical gear surrounded the house. A megaphone echoed, "Lily Hart, step out with your hands up. You are in possession of classified material." She tightened her grip on the notebook. Renford whispered, "There's a back exit. Go. Now." "But what about you?" He smiled sadly. "I'm an old man, Lily. But you're the future." Lily sprinted through the narrow rock tunnel behind the Faith house. She heard boots crashing inside, shouts, a struggle, a gunshot. "No!" she cried, but she kept running. Renford had given his life so she could carry the legacy. The tunnel opened into a vast canyon. Far away she heard the helicopter. She ran until her lungs burned. She didn't stop. Hours later, covered in dust, Lily checked into a run-down motel under a false name. She bolted the door and collapsed on the bed. Adrenaline, fear, exhaustion. She reached for the notebook. Page 12 contained a message she had never noticed. "If they chase you, don't run to safety. Run to purpose." She sat up. Purpose, not hiding, not waiting, finishing. This wasn't about survival anymore. It was about completing Trinity and deciding who would control it. Lily booted up her laptop and plugged in the Trinity module. She opened a private network algorithm her grandmother had written decades ago. At the top it read, "Hart Network Global Access Point." Lily hesitated. If she pressed enter, the whole world could see Trinity. They could see the truth, but they could also misuse it. Her finger hovered. Then she pulled back. "No," she whispered. "I won't repeat your mistake, Grandma." Trinity needed a guardian, not a broadcaster. At 3 a.m., Lily's screen flickered. A message appeared from an unknown sender. "We saw your activation." Lily's blood went cold. "We know you have Trinity." Another line typed itself. "We can help you." Lily whispered, "Help or exploit?" Another message appeared. "We are not the government. We are not NASA. We are not the military. We are the ones Adele trusted last." A final sentence. "Meet us at coordinate 33.90 degrees north on 112.07 degrees west." Lily checked the map. The coordinates pointed to Phoenix, the heart of everything, the epicenter. Ground Zero. Lily packed her bag, Trinity prototype, notebooks, blueprints, the burned Phase 4 sheet, her grandmother's star necklace. She stood at the motel window, staring at the glowing city in the distance. Her grandmother died fighting for Trinity. Renford died protecting Trinity. The resistance died hiding Trinity. Now the world chased it. Only one person could decide its fate, Lily Hart. She whispered, "Okay, Grandma, I'm ready." Then she stepped into the night and walked straight toward the city that wanted to own her. Phoenix at night glowed like a constellation made of glass, bright, blinding, beautiful, deadly. Lily moved through the crowds with a hood pulled low. Her backpack weighted with the Trinity prototype, Adele's notebooks, the Phase 4 sequence. She whispered, "Grandma, guide me." Ahead, the coordinates led her to an abandoned business district blocked by orange barriers. A voice echoed from the shadows. "You came." Lily spun around. A group stepped forward. 5 figures, hooded. The leader pushed her hood back. A woman in her 40s, sharp eyes, confidence like steel. "My name is Zara Calder," she said. Lily's heartbeat skyrocketed. "You're the hacker?" Zara smirked. "Not a hacker, a truth keeper." Inside a deserted bank lobby, Zara revealed her team. 2 former NASA engineers, a cybersecurity expert, a mathematician, a quiet man with a scar across his eyebrow. Zara spoke. "We worked with your grandmother toward the end. She trusted us with her knowledge and her secrets." Lily tightened her grip on her backpack. "What do you want from me?" Zara raised a brow. "More like what you want from us." She pointed toward Lily's chest, where the Trinity module pressed against her coat. "We know you activated Trinity." Lily stiffened. "How?" Zara grinned. "Because your grandmother designed the frequency to ping our network when it came alive." Lily inhaled sharply. "You knew she was dead?" Zara's face softened. "We knew they would kill her eventually. She told us to protect her work as long as we could. Then she said you would finish it." Lily's breath caught. "Why me?" Zara's voice lowered. "Because genius is inherited, but courage is chosen."
A loud mechanical hum vibrated through the windows. Zara cursed. "They're here earlier than expected." Lily peered through the cracked blinds. Military drones, black SUVs, 2 armored trucks, men in tactical armor, and in the center, General Sloan, the same man who warned her. Zara hissed. "They tracked your activation. You need to hide." Lily shook her head. "No, I'm done hiding." Zara grabbed her shoulder. "They will kill you." Lily's voice was cold and clear. "They already killed my grandmother." Silence. Then Zara nodded. "Then it's time." The hackers moved like a trained unit, jamming drones, barricading doors, routing escape tunnels, scrambling comms. Zara turned to Lily. "Follow me. We're going to higher ground." "Higher ground?" Zara smirked. "You'll see." They sprinted up emergency stairs, 4 floors to the roof. phoenix glittered around them like a field of stars. Below, soldiers stormed the building. Zara whispered, "They'll expect you to run, but we're not running." A helicopter roared overhead. A spotlight pinned Lily in its beam. A metallic voice boomed, "Lily Hart, surrender the Trinity device. We will fire if you do not comply." Zara pulled Lily against the stairwell wall. She whispered, "They won't fire." Lily's voice trembled. "How do you know?" Zara grinned darkly. "Because they still need you alive." But Zara was wrong. A soldier leaned out of the helicopter with a rifle. A red dot slid across Lily's forehead. Zara yanked her behind cover just as, bam! Concrete exploded inches from her face. "They shot at me," Lily gasped. Zara grimaced. "They must have authorization to kill." Another shot rang out, but this one wasn't aimed at Lily. It hit the helicopter rifleman. The shooter dropped instantly. Chaos erupted. Lily looked around. Who fired that shot? Zara motioned to the west rooftop. A silhouette stood tall on another building. A man, a rifle glinting under the moon. He lifted his hand in a familiar gesture, as if he knew her. Lily whispered, "Dad?" The sniper jogged across the rooftop gap via an emergency bridge. Daniel Hart landed with a thud and dropped his rifle. He looked older, weather-beaten, determined. "Lily," he whispered, pulling her into a tight embrace. They both shook. "You followed me?" she said. Daniel nodded. "When they came to the house, I knew you'd need help." His eyes hardened. "I couldn't protect my mother. I will protect you." Lily's heart cracked slightly. "Dad, thank you." Zara smirked. "Good. We'll need him." General Sloane's voice echoed from a megaphone below. "Lily Hart, surrender Trinity now, or we will secure it by force." Daniel whispered, "He won't stop." Zara whispered back, "He doesn't have to." Lily stepped forward so the helicopter spotlight could see her. Her voice thundered across the rooftops. "General Sloane, you murdered my grandmother." Silence. Then the general responded, "Your grandmother was a traitor." Zara almost leapt off the roof. Lily shook with rage. She was a hero. She saved lives. The general's voice turned cold. "And we will take Trinity to save millions more. But we will decide how." Lily shouted, "No government should decide the weather." Zara turned to Daniel. "You need to tell her." Daniel swallowed hard. "Tell me what?" Daniel's voice cracked. "The general wasn't the one who ordered your grandmother killed." Lily froze. "Then who?" Daniel closed his eyes. "It was the director of National Climate Operations." A helicopter spotlight swung violently. The beam landed on a second helicopter, hovering near. And there stood a woman. Straight black suit, gray hair pulled tight, expression cold as stone. Zara cursed. "Director Helena Cross," Daniel whispered. "She was your grandmother's enemy." Lily's blood turned to ice. She killed Grandma? Director Cross spoke directly into the megaphone. Lily Hart, we meet at last. Director Cross' helicopter descended until she was nearly eye level with Lily across the rooftop gap. Her voice was steady, unbothered, arrogant. Adele Hart defied her orders. She chose to bury her knowledge. She leaned slightly forward. That was unacceptable. Lily's fists clenched. You murdered her! Director Cross's eyes didn't blink. Adele Hart died of a cerebral event brought on by stress. Lily screamed, You poisoned her! The director's silence confirmed it. But, Cross continued, unlike your grandmother, you still have a chance. Daniel growled, Don't listen to her, Lily. Cross extended a gloved hand. Give us Trinity. We will ensure the world never suffers again. Lily spit on the ground. You want power, not peace. Cross smiled. Power brings peace. Director Cross signaled to her soldiers. A drone swarm activated. A line of soldiers readied rifles. Vera's team activated EMP nodes along the rooftop edges. The entire city crackled with tension. Then, boom! A drone exploded midair. Another, then another. Vera shouted, They're initiating the tactical stormbreaker. Daniel shouted, Get down! Lightning ripped through the clouds as Trinity's atmospheric sensors reacted to the military's electromagnetic pulses. The sky itself was becoming a weapon. Wind whipped around them. Clouds twisted violently. Zara grabbed Lily's arm. You have to activate Trinity's stabilizer. Lily's hand shook. If I do, the government will track me instantly. Zara shouted over the storm. Better tracked alive than captured dead. Lily took a deep breath, pressed the button. The device hummed, lights flared, the air calmed slightly. The drones faltered, the soldiers stumbled, but the stabilizer overheated instantly and sparks erupted. Lily screamed, It's unstable! Zara shouted, You need the Phase 4 sequence. Daniel unzipped Lily's backpack and shoved the burned page toward her. Finish it, Lily. I can't, it's incomplete. Daniel pointed at her heart, then completed from memory, just like your grandmother. Lily stared at the formula, her grandmother's handwriting blurred with her own, and suddenly she understood. Lily dropped to her knees in the rain, closed her eyes, let the wind move around her, let the electricity hum in her bones. In her mind, she saw the chalkboard from her childhood. Her grandmother's voice echoed. Equations are just stories, Lily. Write the ending. Lily's eyes snapped open. Her hand flew across the page, completing the missing sequence in under 10 seconds. Zara stared in awe. Daniel whispered, She's her grandmother. Lily slammed the completed sequence into the console. The Trinity device roared alive. Lightning bent around it like metallic vines wrapping a core. Wind slowed, clouds brightened, drones malfunctioned, soldiers fell back, shielding their eyes. The storm stabilized. Phoenix went silent. For the first time in history, a human had controlled the sky.
Director Cross's face twisted in shock. "What have you done?" Lily stood. Her voice was steady. "I've finished my grandmother's work." As Lily stepped back from the device, a gun clicked behind her. Zara froze. Daniel shouted, "Lily, watch out!" The scarred man from Zara's team stood behind her, holding a military-grade pistol. Lily gasped. You're one of them?" He smirked. "You think a system like this should belong to a girl with a backpack?" He cocked the gun. "It belongs to the highest bidder." Before he could pull the trigger, thwack! Daniel tackled him from behind. The gun slid across the rooftop. The man punched Daniel hard. Zara kicked him off. 3 people fought violently near the ledge, but the man scrambled, grabbed the device, and ran. Lily sprinted after him. Her lungs burned. Her feet slammed against concrete. The man leapt across buildings like a trained operative. He clutched Trinity like a stolen crown. Lily screamed, "Stop!" He didn't. He ran faster. She ran harder. The city stretched below, a fall of 40 stories. The man jumped to the next rooftop, but he miscalculated. He slipped, fell. No! Lily lunged forward and grabbed his wrist. He dangled over the edge, screaming. "Pull me up!" he shrieked. "Give me Trinity!" Lily yelled. He refused. "Never!" He swung the device toward his free hand, desperately trying to keep it. The strap snapped. The device flew, twisting through the air in slow motion. Lily screamed, "No!" It smashed onto the rooftop edge. Sparks, flames, a violent electrical burst. Trinity exploded. Lily's scream echoed across the skyline. The man lost his balance. He plummeted down 40 stories into darkness. Lily collapsed to her knees, shaking uncontrollably. The prototype was gone. The man was dead. The project was crippled. Daniel reached her first. "Daniel! Lily, are you hurt?" She sobbed uncontrollably. "I failed her." Zara knelt beside her. "No, you saved the city. You controlled the weather." She held Lily's shoulders. "And now you'll rebuild Trinity." A gunshot echoed. Daniel grunted and fell backward. Lily screamed, "Dad!" Director Cross stood across the rooftop, holding a smoking gun. "You're too much trouble, Lily." Lily rose with shaking fury. "You shot my father!" Cross aimed again. "And now I'm going to finish what I started." Lily stepped forward. "You killed my grandmother." Cross's eyes narrowed. "She was an obstacle. You destroyed the resistance. They interfered. You shot my father. He was disposable." Lily's tears vanished, her voice lowered to a whisper. "And now I destroy you." Cross fired. Lily ducked. The bullet missed by inches. Lily grabbed a loose metal bar from the wreckage and swung. Cross dodged with surprising speed, striking Lily across the face. Blood pooled. Lily staggered. Cross aimed again. Zara tackled Cross from behind. The gun clattered away. Daniel, despite bleeding, threw himself into the fray, pinning Cross's leg. Lily grabbed the gun. She aimed at Cross. Her hands trembled. Cross spat. "You won't shoot me. You're not like your grandmother." Lily whispered, "No, I'm better. She pulled the trigger. Click. Empty. Cross smirked. You don't have the guts. But Lily didn't need guts. She had gravity. She kicked Cross fully off balance. Cross slipped, fell sideways, and tumbled over the roof's edge. Lily didn't look away. She stared as the woman who controlled governments fell through the air like a discarded secret. The impact echoed like thunder. Rain started to fall, gently, softly, like the sky exhaling after holding its breath. Daniel groaned, clutching his wound. Zara rushed to tie improvised bandages. Lily knelt and held her father's hand. "I thought I lost you," she whispered. Daniel smiled weakly. "I'm not going anywhere. Not until you finish what your grandmother started." Lily wiped her tears. "I will." Zara looked at the shattered remains of Trinity. "That's gone. What now?" Lily removed her backpack, held up the notebook. "The prototype is gone," she said, "but the blueprints are here." Zara exhaled with awe. "You can rebuild it." Lily looked up at the sky, the storm she had saved. "No," she said softly, "I can build something better." She stood tall, wind pulling at her coat, the city lights reflecting in her eyes. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Her grandmother fought alone. Lily would not. The world would not silence her. Not now, not ever. Lily Hart had survived the storm. Now she would remake the sky. 1 year later, Lily stood on a balcony overlooking a new research facility. Her own, the Hart Atmospheric Innovation Institute. Her team included Zara, the remaining resistance members, former NASA engineers, Daniel, now her advisor, young scientists inspired by Adele. Behind blast-proof glass stood Trinity 2, rebuilt, safer, non-weaponizable, open source, legally protected, internationally supervised. Lily tapped the console. A drought zone in Africa received a gentle, life-saving rainfall. A hurricane in the Caribbean lost 12% of its destructive energy. A wildfire front slowed just enough for first responders to save a town. All under global supervision, all under Lily's conditions. News headlines filled the world. New engineer saves millions using new climate system. Hart legacy officially recognized. NASA apologizes posthumously to Adele Hart. Lily visited her grandmother's exhibit, now in the Smithsonian. She placed her palm against the glass over Adele's chalkboard photo. "Grandma," she whispered, "I finished your story." The lights above flickered gently, like a wink. A star passed overhead. Hart 27. Daniel approached from behind. "She would be proud." Lily smiled. "She is." The screen fades out over a glowing horizon, a sunrise over a world finally healing. Lily rebuilt Trinity, but she never stayed in one place long. Too many governments still hunted her. She lived like her grandmother once did, in the shadows, among notebooks, working silently. She stabilized storms, prevented disasters, changed the world behind curtains. But the world never knew her name. Occasionally, she received a letter from her father, sometimes from Zara, once a year from her niece. But Lily never revealed her location, because secrets kept her safe and danger kept her moving. She never married, never built a home. Her home was the sky and the systems she protected. One night, she looked up to the desert stars and whispered, "Grandma, I finally understand." She died peacefully at 89 in the same cabin Adele once hid in. Beside her body were hundreds of notebooks. The last one read, "We cured the sky, but the sky took everything." Her funeral was small, but her legacy was infinite.
Lily activated the rebuilt prototype, but the world wasn't ready. Governments fought over control. Corporations wanted to privatize weather. Militias tried to steal the device. Nations argued Trinity could cripple economies. A cyber attack hit her lab. A missile struck the institute. Daniel was killed. Zara disappeared. Lily ran, but she wasn't as lucky as Adele. The government found her in the desert cabin. They didn't arrest her. They eliminated her. Then they took Trinity. Weather became a weapon. Devastation followed. Heat waves weaponized. Floods targeted. Entire harvests collapsed. Nations blackmailed. Chaos disguised as climate change. The final headline before blackout: "The world is at war with the sky." Humanity fell, all because the wrong people got the right technology, and the right woman died too soon.
Years after Lily disappeared, a young girl, maybe 12, toured the Hart Weather Observatory. She wandered away from the group and found a dusty corner. There sat an old metal console with a faint pulse of light. She pressed a button. The screen flickered. A message appeared. "Trinity 3 activation sequence. User detected. Trinity DNA match 52%. The girl gasped. "Mom!" she screamed. A woman rushed over. "What did you touch?" But before she could reach the console, a hologram flickered into view. A woman with curly hair. Calm, warm, familiar. Lily Hart. She smiled at the girl. "You're early," she said softly, "but that means you're ready." The screen faded. The girl whispered, "Mom, who was she?" The mother's voice cracked. "Your grandmother." The girl pressed her hand against the now dark screen, and the light blinked. Once. The legacy lived on. In a parallel timeline, Adele Hart was never silenced. Her work was recognized early. Her team remained intact. Her innovations reshaped history. Lily grew up inspired, celebrated, mentored, protected. Trinity became an international peace technology instead of a weapon. And on Christmas Eve, decades later, Lily stood on a stage to accept the Nobel Prize in Physics on behalf of her grandmother. Her speech, "May the world never again silence the voices of women who built its foundations." The audience stood. The sky outside snowed softly. History had aligned the way it was meant to.
Some stories end in triumph, some in sacrifice, some in the echo of those who came before. But every version holds the same truth. The quietest genius is often the most dangerous, and legacy is louder than silence.